So I think what we can do is I'll talk to you guys a little bit about the what we're doing, what the status of things are, spend a little more time on that, and then look at some volunteer things and maybe take on some projects with some of you guys. The other, we need some help on a couple of things, and then talk about the stuff that's coming up in the near term, and the clinical trials. I think for us in clinical trials, there's two things that have happened, right? So there's let me go back and go in order. Okay, so for us, we have in September, which is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. I'm going to be in DC for the 11th through the 14th at VPCa, which is the AUA. Hi, Fred, you there? Okay, so I'll be in DC that first few days, or that 1 week, the 11th through the 14th. And then we've been invited to actually participate at the VA's Hematology and Oncology Conference here in San Diego, which is called Avaho. So we're going to have a little table set up with a skirt, and we'll be handing out information and talking to the doctors about really the organization and trying to solicit more volunteers. We'll have, I think the concept will be that we'll put out some signups or give them some information, these doctors, that they can direct their patients or people that are willing to help us with volunteers across the country, because this will be an oncology conference for all the oncologists in the VA to come out and talk to us. And we'll see if we can't use the doctors to recruit more volunteers in various places. Okay. We also are going to participate at the Air Force Association, which is a big meeting in Washington, DC from the 17th to the 19th. And Chris is handling that. I think Tony and who am I thinking of?
Chris?
Tony and Harry DePolar are going to probably be there as well. Okay. Then later in the month, the 23 to 25, we have the Miramar Air Show, which is obviously here in San Diego. We'll have, I think, a pretty good crew there, probably 6 or 8 of us, and we've got a chalet, but it will be, and then the airplane, L-39 Albatross is going to come out and help us just promote aviation and the high rate of incidents amongst aviators. For you guys that aren't aviators, we've also talked to a number of guys. I just got off the phone this afternoon with the guy by the name of Mike Fallon, who was a combat engineer, but then he got into artillery, or not artillery, got into heavy vehicles. He was in the Marines doing M1A2 tanks or M1A1 tanks, and he had prostate cancer. He was diagnosed 5 years ago, and but with late stage. And I've come to find out through him this afternoon that there's quite a few Marine tankers that have prostate cancer. I'm sure Army guys have got it too from dragging around depleted uranium. So anyway, it's all kind of hitting guys at the same time, which is kind of an interesting phenomenon. The doctors are saying that the cases that they're seeing, Jeff Jones would tell you that the cases he's seeing are becoming more and more aggressive. The case that they're just more and more involved that they're seeing nowadays. So it makes our study, the aviation study or the aviator study, even more important as to why and what the cause of this aggressive form of the disease is. In that regard, we were in last week, Dr. Jones and I were in Chicago at Tempus. Tempus is a company that does the DNA sequencing, and they have agreed to do what is called whole genome sequencing for us. And whole genome means that they'll look at the entire, well, obviously the entire gene, whereas most of the people like in VPCa or these other companies that are out there, Murad, everybody else that are sponsors down here, will actually, in Foundation Medicine, will do panels. So they'll only look at specific either mutations or parts of the gene, and they'll do like a gene panel. So you're looking at 80 to 90 different genes or components of the gene, whereas Tempus is going to do all known genes, so 289 or something like that, I guess. But anyway, they're doing a whole genome, which I know Dr. Rettig, if he was here, would tell you is exactly what they want to get the best idea about what may be causing these mutations and problems. The other is, let's see what else, and that's really the big deal for September. We've also got which Amy can give us a briefing on. I don't know if you talked to Meg, or did you have any information from Meg? You're going to see the Viewpoint product come out. It's a TV show. It's like a docu-series. It was produced by Dennis Quaid and his production company. The show is called Viewpoint, and you'll see a lot of media coming out probably maybe this week and next week.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll need to be sharing and promoting that across all of our outlets. We're up to quite a few email chains now. I think we're at about 17,000 confirmed contacts in our emails. And so you'll see it on Facebook and on YouTube and on all the others, but it's actually showing on major television stations too, like Fox Business is going to run it. And they're going to give us the dates and times when it will be shown, and we'll pass it out to everybody so that you guys can help promote it as well in your local circles. And it's all about, we've got Dr. Shore, Tony really are on the. Dr. Shore is talking about the prevalence of prostate cancer in the VA and the need to early screen because of veterans' exposure to stuff. So it's I think we're going to get we're going to get some coverage from that, which will give us some more promotions and that whole thing. So I think it'll be a good deal. Amy, what is the schedule? What are they telling you about that? You want to give us a quick overview?
So we are just waiting for the air dates to come from the national syndication part of that. So that will be released within the next 7-8 days. So I will get that in the next few days and announce that to all for the air dates for that. And this is, certainly a really important nucleus as we launch the Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, launching in 2 days. So this will definitely be a big initiative for us. So we appreciate your support in viewing and sharing. There are some really important messages and stories layered into this. So we anticipate the big premiere. So stay tuned.
That's great. I was so in DC, quick run through with DC. There's 2 bills, the HR 4880 and the Senate 2720. I was told by Congressman Dunn and Senator Tester's office that they expect that bill to be up for a vote finally the week of this 5th or right after Labor Day, because they've been pushing it. They had to wait until the PACT Act, which many of you saw, which were the toxic exposure issues, which we were involved in as well, but they wanted to wait till that passed to even push on the on Congress or on the leadership to get a bill introduced for vote. They will. It looks like it'll be introduced hopefully on around the 6th or the 7th, which is a couple of weeks from now. I think she's going to have us, Amy, still do a letter writing campaign if we can and get the word out to everybody, which we'll stand by for the word on how you do that. It's basically, I know that all of you have probably done it before. We do just a quick click and then off you go. and it'll send them the letter based on your zip code to the right congressman and your senators of your state. Yeah, so that's kind of legislation at the moment. I know there's a lot of discussion about updating some TRICARE things and whatever, but we'll wait on that because they haven't even been really introduced. But there is some talk about updating some of those things. Prostate cancer, I'll put a word out for Zero and their CDMRP program, which many of you know, they support the congressionally directed medical research programs. It's about $110, $120 million budget for research. We think that ought to be increased. We think we ought to have another line item or another way to get funding out of HHS and NIH. So we'll see how that goes. Another program we introduced recently, we were asked by the VA to submit our software, the prostate cancer health storyline software, to a program called Mission Daybreak. Mission Daybreak, you can look it up on the VA website, is their solicitation for innovation in suicide awareness or suicide intervention. Suicide is still an issue in the VA. We're still seeing somewhere around 20 guys a day commit suicide, and they're looking for ways to find early intervention. Our software comes with a real-time queue and also a mental health node or mental health program monitoring software in there, which really is just we send the guys nudges and they have to respond with either a happy face or a sad face or a we don't care face, and then based on what your diagnosed status is from the healthcare providers, it'll send an alarm to them in the clinic, and they can intercede, or they can call you immediately on your phone, or they can come and see you. So they wanted us to write that or write it up. We did. We submitted it. We're waiting for an announcement in September sometime, and everybody will obviously be copied, or you'll become aware of that as we go. But it was really for an introduction or implementation into the VA in a much broader, wider, program, and try to get into some initial sites and then spread it throughout the rest of the VA. Okay, it's downloadable on the Apple Store if you want it, or you can call us and we'll get you a link to it. So that is really kind of an update on everything. What we were going to try to talk about, I'd invited the CEO of a company called Massive Bio to come and talk to us about their program. Celine Kernaz is the lady that started Massive Bio. It's becoming a really kind of a go-to resource for people in clinical trials. So if you want to, and really the way that you access that program is through the internet. And if anybody is asking you about an interest in clinical trials, what Massive Bio has done is they've won a contract from NIH and also I'm trying to remember, I think it's HHS or CMS maybe has given them a contract. But what they do is they're paid for by these government entities to provide clinical trial navigators, and you can sign in online, explain very briefly what your cancer is. They'll call you, and they will, if you're interested in clinical trial, they'll call you and walk you through the process, and they will be your navigator through the entire clinical trial. And they've got what sets them apart a little bit is they have some artificial intelligence software that actually rapidly pulls apart and scans the clinicaltrials.gov website, or that website that's downloaded, all the data is pulling apart, and then their AI goes through it. And as you fill out your form, it's searching in the clinicaltrials.gov for any qualified trials that you might have. So it's a pretty interesting site if you know of people that are interested in trials. And I got in a discussion with a couple of doctors about calling things trials, and I think it's Bruce, you got some nice background there. we've got, I think that trials is really the wrong name for it, because it gives a connotation that we don't know what the finished program is, right? You think that you're a guinea pig and you're out there, they're just doing something, they're trying something on you. That is the case in many times. There's things that they are trying, but most trials have the provision that if you're not responding or you go along for some point in time, they will actually put you in the arm that actually has the medication, right? So they'll take you to a certain point, and if you're not responding to the placebos, which, if it's a double blind trial, with a placebo in it, which are the best kinds, because then you can really see if there's a result or not. Those are probably the most effective trials. And then but they'll pick you up and give you the medication towards the end of the trial, right? Especially in a prostate cancer trial, if they see you advancing rapidly or they see something happen, they'll pull you out, or you won't qualify anymore. And then, so instead of calling it a trial, it's more of a development program, is what they ought to call it. It ought to be a drug development program instead of a drug trial. But there are a number of them out and available right now. A number of trials ongoing. Novartis is looking at some. I know Lantheus is starting up a trial right now. One of our sponsors, Pfizer, has hundreds of trials ongoing all the time. Blue Earth is starting a trial for, and Lantheus and Blue Earth's trials are for theranostics, which is the therapy and diagnostics at the same time, with the PSMA and lutetium-177, or another chemotherapy drug that's tied on to the PSMA molecule, and it drags it right directly to the cancer in your body. So all those things are great trials to get involved in. That's where drugs like Pluvicto, which is come out of Novartis, which is now out there for stage 4 guys that have failed chemotherapy. There are guys that have had that drug a couple of years ago, and that have literally are now in remission from where they were at a stage 4 prostate cancer diagnosis. And it helps guide along. They're trying to move that drug up, I know, into earlier detection or earlier stages of the cancer, not wait for guys to have to get to failed chemotherapy and stuff like that. I know, let's see, Profound Foundation and Murad are doing, I don't know what trials they're doing. I think they're doing more internal trials of expanding their gene capability or their DNA sequencing capability. We've been asked by Macrogenetics and I think Exact Sciences to help them actually recruit VA centers and urologists to get into 2 trials that they're doing right now. So we're sending out emails to our urology teams. If you want to talk to your urologist, or you have a good relationship with the urologist in your VAs or locally, Bruce, like you do with the guys there in Dallas, happy to introduce the Macrogenetics, send you a package and just send it to them and say, hey, listen, they're looking for guys they're looking for sites to get involved in the stage 3 trial. And it's for metastatic castrate-resistant prostate cancer. So it's a good trial. It's something to take a look at. It's just it's another medication to help stop the spread of the disease. Neologic, one of our sponsors, is they're the ones that do, or they've invented the guide for a perineal biopsy. That is something that we all should ask for nowadays. If you ever have to have another biopsy, please make sure that you're asking guys for a perineal biopsy. And if they need information about it, we've got it through Perineologic. And Exact Sciences, incredible company that is helping out in all sorts of ways in the detection and classification of prostate cancer, so that we can make better decisions on which kind of treatments to pursue. Trials, I'm not sure of their pipeline or what their trial status is, but we can certainly find out shortly and put those things out there. But it's really, they're all in clinicaltrials.gov, the ones that are eligible. And so what I'd like to do, Amy, real quick, is show everybody Massive Bio's website. And then I'll walk through a couple of ways of how you do it, just in case they have friends or you run into other vets that are interested in the clinical trials. Okay. And it's pretty incredible. I've done it. I can attest to the fact that I have done this, and I actually qualify for, or they came back and told me I qualified for 3 trials. I didn't want to do them. I'm in enough of them already. So I just elected not to do it. But this is their website. It's massivebio.com. Okay, so here's the way it opens up. And you just have to go to the landing page. This is it. And you type in your name here, right? Your email, put your phone number in. And if you hit, if I hit get your free consultation right there, within about an hour, one of the trial navigators will call and go through the checklist with you and start asking you questions about what cancer you have. So if you want to, like if I clicked it, it goes over here. So Samantha would probably call me, and she's going to ask me my name, the oncologist name, and this is the HIPAA release form that you've got to sign to start to get into the medical records consent, which means they can go right to the hospital, get your medical records, and start going through this whole thing. If we go back, so exploring clinical trials, right? You can look through here and see if you want to do it yourself, which I don't really recommend, because here's the assessment. It's first of all, what kind of cancer do you have? So most of us will pick prostate, right? And what's your gender? I don't know why we'd have that one in there. Your age, right? So this is so they can get your medical records, email address, we'll put that on there, phone number. That zip code, it's because a lot of clinical trials are location specific. And now we're in. Okay. She could actually she can't get VA records. You have to take in a form into the VA and ask them to release their records. But other hospitals or commercial care facilities that you're going to, they would now be able to, if you sign this, if I submitted this thing, she could call and get my records, and then she would call me back. What's key about this is that Samantha, if I hit send and sent this through, she would be my clinical trial navigator through the entire process until I went into the trials. And then you can elect to actually have her stay with you even through the trials, or they will check back and get in touch with you to see how you've done in the trials. And really they become your single point of contact to help you get through a lot of the stuff. They're typically trained oncology nurses, or they've worked in oncology before, so they understand, they get it. They're all very smart, very caring. They have all sorts of resources available to them. They know how to get you through these things, and they'll talk directly to the doctors on your behalf as well in the conversation to make sure you don't miss things. And so it's quite a service, and it's not very well known. I know that I found out about this from our software developers at Self-Care Catalyst, but also Dr. Neil Shore pushes most of his patients through here because of the quality of the service that they provide. So I encourage everybody from a clinical trial perspective to please take a look at massivebio.com. And if you have questions, we can get on a call. And I think we probably should, maybe in September, we can get on a call with them and have them walk through the entire process for all of us, for everybody's benefit. And if you've got guys that you talk to that might be interested in the clinical trial process or what it's all about, maybe we can invite them to the meeting and we can all learn more about it, because I think it is something that we should be promoting and should be promoting inside and outside the VA both. Anybody have any questions on that? before we get on with things? Have any of you ever signed up just to check and see if you're eligible for any trials? I had, you have, Fred, you've done it? You're muted, Fred. Here,
Okay, I'm involved right now.
are you? Okay.
Yeah,
And how's the experience been for you?
great. It's
Yeah.
been really good. It's run through Bayer.
Yeah. And that, yeah, I think that they're all, a lot of them depends on what trial you get to is then who will run it. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're doing it. That's great.
Yeah,
I think I know that some of you guys, some of your states, like Bruce, we probably ought to take you through one of those things, and you'd be surprised what they come up with. I was anyway.
Yeah, I'd love to.
It's worth having a conversation with them as well to find out what's out there. I mean, that's. I just had a guy this afternoon who's going to be joining us at the next month's call, Mike Fallon, retired colonel in the Marine Corps. He lives over in Phoenix, but he's got his prostate cancer 7 years, but he keeps coming back again. And so he's entering into a trial through Massive Bio as well as of this afternoon. So it was great. He qualified for, I think, 3 or 4 trials as well, or getting on to about 3 or 4 clinical trials. So it's good. I mean, it's how we do it, is just network and get the word out to everybody.
No, that's great. I wonder if this would be something that'd be viable for that buddy of mine we discussed, or is that just too high of a hill?
No, they in that clinical trials, they're looking for guys with all stages. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, even from initial biopsy or initial determination, initial diagnosis, all the way through late stage. I mean, there are clinical trials for everybody.
Okay.
And a lot of times trials will fall off, or they'll establish another arm that might have somebody with a different disease state, with a lower disease burden, that kind of thing. I know that they're trying to do that now with some of these theranostics, right? So they're trying to push the theranostics up earlier in your treatment cycle, which we obviously would very much support.
Excellent. Okay.
Anybody else? I mean, as far as clinical trials go, I think we all, doctors sometimes don't like or won't promote them in your offices, which is one. Let's talk about downsides of trials. Sometimes they don't promote them as much as they should because they think they're going to lose the patient, right? You're going to move over to somebody else's care because you're under their trial. And so they won't promote clinical trials in the hospital or with that specific guy. In the VA, it doesn't matter. The VA, it's not a lot of a profit margin benefit there, so they're all getting paid to do their job. So in the VA, clinical trials really should be promoted. Now, in the VA, you'll learn that not all of the clinical trials are actually reported at clinicaltrials.gov. Some of them, it takes a little bit of time to get it into clinicaltrials.gov. So there's a challenge there that we've run into as well. Not a good thing, but it is something to look out for. So if you're really interested in them, we can talk about it. We can get some of these research doctors like Dr. Lee or Dr. Rettig, Dr. Montgomery, and these guys that Dr. Jones, who's involved in all sorts of trials and research projects. They're always looking for help, always looking for guys to get in place. We're still recruiting 1,000 for our own trial, 1,000 former military aviators or air crew with prostate cancer, and we're getting quite an active sign up list in the database right now. It's funny. I think vets. What we were talking about earlier today. Vets don't like to talk. They typically would just take their medicine and go do what they're told, right? We're trying to change that through support groups and through raising awareness on about the disease state, about the need to talk about it from a hereditary perspective, and also to talk about it from an age perspective and a disease perspective. If we can catch it earlier, we all know the numbers. It's 99% curable now today with non-invasive techniques. if you wait, that probability goes down to about 30%, and it becomes to be quite a journey that you have to concern yourself with quite a bit. So, what's the answer? Go get screened early, right? I did get an announcement today that VPCa, we have access to a certain number of mere scientific exosome urinalysis tests. So probably another call, but we can talk about it. If we have, they're trying to get us to promote this to VIPs that we know out in the marketplace, right? Guys that would help promote the technology across the country. And it's they're rolling it out. It's now commercially available. It's a urinalysis test that will not only they finished their clinical trials, by the way, and it's FDA approved. It detects prostate cancer, but it also stages prostate cancer through your urinalysis. Okay.
Wow.
And it's pretty remarkable technology. And so they've done a lot of study on it. It comes from Israel, and it's been introduced and passed all of its tests here in the US. Looking for partners, or we're a partner, we're an approved partner, so we can talk about it, and we can offer it to a certain number of people. So I did it. I went through that process today as well. I offered it to to a hedge fund manager that I know in Chicago, that is 56, having some urine urgency issues, and he's never had a PSA.
Wow.
So how many of us have heard that story, right?
Man.
So we're hoping to get him the test next week. They're going to go up there and give it to him. But yeah, he's a good guy, but he's never had the PSA, never had a test. So what? Obviously, right in the middle of the window, needs to get. He's not a vet, but he does help vets quite a bit. So we're giving him the test. Trying to get a couple of other guys that are dealing with recurrence to do the test. This is supposed to be a nouveau test, so guys that have never that haven't been diagnosed with the disease, but I still think it's probably even better in a recurrence setting than in a nouveau setting, because a lot of times when we're dealing with recurrence, we don't know where it's coming from, right? So this would be nice just to know what the disease burden is in your body, and they do that through exosome match, and it's proven to be incredibly accurate. So I think we will probably, in the next day or so, you can check on the website. We'll post up its research page, or it's not in our resources page. We will post some information about it.
You have to go to the doctor's office to get that done. Like, one of its competitors is like Exosome DX. They've come up with one which is a home delivery.
And I think, Exosome DX is a great deal. I mean, honestly, it's great. Exosome, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, I think it doesn't stage, it just gives you the probability.
Right. Yeah, it's not professing to do as much as the mirror does. Yeah.
And but I think it's and it is available. It's I think they're looking at a home test, but right now it's in the doctor's office, and you've got to have a doctor sign for. Or
I just didn't know what level it was at yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the doctor's ordering it, and they've got to put an order in for it. Okay. We have a number of sponsors on the call tonight. I was in the call is really about clinical trials. I was going to ask if anybody wants to put your hand up and offer if you have any trials that you're recruiting for right now. And we can get the word out to a number of our people. So if kind of an all call to those of you reps that are out there, if you know of any trials that you're doing or that you are recruiting for, we'd be happy to help promote those things. Don't see any hands up. It doesn't mean there's not trials going on. It just means that the reps that are here tonight may not know about them. Right. Okay, I think go around the horn. Anything new from anybody? Joe, Tony, Donnie, nice to see you.
Tony joined us at the early stages of what we're trying to do with the VA support group.
And how's that going?
I'm trying to get more folks engaged. I've got a few. We've got about not totally participating all the time, but we've got about 30 guys already, mostly from the ANCAN side. I collared Tony the other day and brought him in, and I'm just looking for a couple more guys to get involved. Because what we're, the process there is to try to find out or assist everybody in how to work your way through the VA and the government medical system.
Joe, let's have a call. Let's schedule a call either late this week or next week with the VA as well. There's an office of the Veterans Service Support Office, and or it's a VSO support office, Veteran Support Organization Support Office. Let's have a call with them and get some feedback from them, and then also let's also get Harry DePolar. I know Harry's not on the call tonight, but Harry has a support group that's inside the Washington, D.C. VA. It's for combat vets. It was started primarily for PTSD and mental health aspects. I've spoken at the event or at their meeting about 2 or 3 times, and we've had Dr. Rachel Rubin, who's a sexual health expert. Rachel.
I know Rachel. Yep.
Yeah, and she has spoken. She's actually joined them virtually, but given Harry some talking materials, speaking materials to talk about sexual health concerns and that sort of thing. So I think Harry would be a great one because he's already doing it with the combat action crew. And he's been intertwining prostate cancer care inside there, but he's gotten the permission from the Washington, D.C. VA, and they do it in the basement. They've got a classroom that they schedule, and it was scheduled in person. They went virtual for a long time, and now they're back. They're starting up their in-person calls as well.
Okay,
So
that would be good.
So we'll get connected this week with Harry. I'll put an outreach to him, and we'll get connected with him and talk about how he got it started. Okay.
Yeah, that would be fine. That would be great.
Yeah. And then I need to get with you as well, because the guys here at San Diego, my hematologist here at San Diego, she asked me to put one together, and she said she would be our VA. The hospital has to have a sponsor. We know that they've got to have a person that says, okay, we've endorsed it. We think it's the right thing to do to have a support group. And she said that she's going through the paperwork here in VA to get it done. Going through the paperwork at the VA hospital to get us a sponsorship in so that we can talk about it. Hello, Dr. Jones. How are you?
Hey, doing well, Bing. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for popping in. I know you're probably busy today treating vets, so thank you. We were talking about, we kind of finished, we went through the massive bioclinical trials type of stuff. And I don't know if you want to add anything about the importance from a physician's perspective of doing clinical trials, but feel free if you'd like to.
Well, I think that clinical trials are very important for, number one, VAs and academic medical centers to host, to try to improve the therapies available for veterans or diagnostic procedures available for veterans and for men in general. The clinical trials mechanism is a way for the state of the art to be advanced, and new therapies have to be proven with randomized double-blinded placebo-controlled studies before the FDA will approve them to be available outside of the trial settings. So we need many individuals, especially men with prostate cancer, to participate in these trials so we can get new and better diagnostics and therapies available for all men that have prostate cancer. So I would encourage participation in clinical trials when available, but always check the trial and make sure you feel the trial meets your needs before agreeing to participate.
Yeah. Yeah, great advice, interesting advice. That's great. I think we talked about Massive Bio and having the clinical trial signups, Jeff, and to get guys, to get them a nurse navigator or, a navigator of sorts to help through those things, to talk about some of the lessons learned and ways to help out with, as a kind of an impartial judge to the process too. So, which is good. Yeah, I think that's really about it. I mean, we've gone around the horn. Appreciate everybody's inputs and everybody being here. A lot of activity happening. I mean, that in September, Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, a lot of, just a reminder, a lot of social media posts that are going to be going on. The movie from Viewpoint, our docu-series, will be out, so please look for that and make sure that we spread the news, share the links, and watch it when you're on TV. We'll see. We will make sure that everybody in the crowd gets the right time and in the right channel to get to watch it. It'll be on. It's going out on a number of channels: MSNBC, CNN, Fox Business. A lot of local affiliates will be targeted as well, and so we'll get those out. The other is the AUA PCIA meetings in September. Also the AVAHO, which is the VA's Hematology Oncology Conference. Again, will be at the Air Force Association in Washington, D.C. and the Miramar Air Show. So Miramar Air Show is expected to have over 1 million people participating or visiting this year over 3 days. About 300,000 folks a day are expected to show up. We have a chalet to host people, host sponsors and guests in that to be able to watch the show right up front and have good business discussions. And we're going to be promoting it to try to get it's now the time to do our budgeting for next year as well. So we'll be speaking with a lot of our sponsors about budgeting for next year and what we can do to help spread the word and get more word out about prostate cancer and the need to screen earlier and what kind of new treatments are coming down the road next year. I think we're going to see a lot of advancements, specifically from a lot of our sponsors like Blue Earth and others. There's some new technologies that are hitting the street right now, from imaging to all of the different theranostic issues that are happening. So it's an exciting time. I mean, there's a lot of advancements happening. This prostate cancer is not the same path or not the same industry that it was 5 years ago. And I think hopefully it will change as much as it does. It has in the last 5 years. Remember our motto, our year is to make blue the new pink. So we, it's not to discount breast cancer, but this is the year that prostate cancer is surpassing breast cancer in the number of diagnoses in the United States. And we still don't know that. Our society hasn't caught on to that yet. So hopefully with our big mouths, we'll make a point of it. And really what we would like to see is, I think, parity in research is really a big goal, right? If we can get enough parity in research, I think it's going to save a lot of guys' lives. And because of the government's degrading in screening for many years, for almost a decade, we're seeing a lot of guys showing up now with late stage disease on first diagnosis. And that's not fun for anybody. So we've got to make a change. I mean, that's get guys out, make sure you're talking to your family, make sure everybody knows that you got to get screened. So with that, I'll I'll let us go and I'll give everybody 15 minutes of your evening. And if you got any,
Mike,
yeah, Joe.
before I let you go, if I want to coordinate something for the Miramar, do I just work that with Amy?
Yep,
Okay,
or me or whatever, there's stuff available. We'd love you to come out. And yeah, let's coordinate. We'll put you on the list to make sure that you get out there.
that'd be good. That'd be good, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have you there. I'd love to have you present. So that'd be great.
Love to help out.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, this is Chris. Can you hang for a few seconds after the meeting?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay. I think with that, that's about it for tonight, and appreciate everybody's participation. Thanks again.
And,
Have a good evening.
Okay, guys.
yeah, I sent you a couple of emails, Bing.
Okay. I got them.
All right,
Thanks,
have a
Jeff.
good one.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Just doing some travel thoughts. So I
Okay.
got my flight up to National Harbor on the night of the 16th, Friday the 16th.
Okay.
I'll get in a little bit late, but yeah, that's no biggie. I don't, do you know where you're staying in DC yet?
I'm actually coming back. So I think it's going to be, I'm coming back to San Diego. So I think it's going to be you and Tony.
Oh, okay.
Because I've got to do this Avaho thing back here, this oncology conference.
Okay.
So I think it's gonna be you and Tony and who else? Maybe Harry DePoler maybe.